Good afternoon, Belize. I'm Isana Cayetano, and it's time for your midday check-in with News 5. Here are the top stories to keep you in the loop. Belize's Foreign Ministry issues statement following announcement of new U.S. tariff regime. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Home Affairs maps out a one-month transition process for outgoing Commissioner of Police Chester Williams. The Caribbean Development Bank conducts portfolio review in Belize. And in this week's episode of Belize Unreal, News 5 features Brodie's 138 years of business. These stories are coming up in just 1 minute.
In the face of tragedy, you depend on accurate and timely information. In times of triumph, you seek to be inspired. You demand transparency and accountability. Your desire is to know and to understand, to be heard and seen. I take pride in telling stories that safeguard communities. Your dedication and success live on through these reports. Getting to the truth is my duty. My unwavering commitment is to tell the stories that matter the most to you. I am News 5.
Welcome back. In a bold move that has sent shockwaves through the global economy, President Donald Trump has announced sweeping new import tariffs, including a 10% duty on all products entering the United States. While these tariffs aim to protect American industries, they are poised to have significant repercussions for smaller countries, including Belize. As Belize grapples with the potential economic fallout, government officials are urgently assessing the impact on local businesses and trade. These tariffs could change the economic game for Belize and other small countries, spotlighting the hurdles they'll face and the clever strategies they'll need to tackle this new trade environment. This morning, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade posted on X, quote, "The government of Belize takes note of the new U.S. tariff regime announced yesterday by President Donald Trump. Our officials are currently and rapidly analyzing the information and will be consulting with the relevant stakeholders to ensure Belize's economic interests are safeguarded through bilateral dialogue with U.S. officials and coordination with CARICOM," end quote. This morning, the Ministry of Home Affairs and New Growth Industries announced a smooth one-month transition for the Commissioner of Police. At the end of this period, Dr. Anthony Rosado will take over as Commissioner, replacing Chester Williams, who will become the new CEO of the Ministry of Transport. The ministry emphasized that this transition shows their commitment to stability, professionalism, and continuity in the Belize Police Department's leadership. An official handover ceremony will mark the formal change of command. Before the announcement, Chester Williams expresses excitement for the upcoming transition ceremony.
I am certain that is in the making. It's not like you think, it's not that I am being pushed out of the way. Certainly, this was something that was well planned. In terms of me leaving and go over to transport. It's just a matter of how it ended up at the end in terms of the actions of the CEO. But the intention of Karim, my minister, and the Prime Minister, it's good. And it's an opportunity for me. It's an elevation in the government service, moving from a head of department to a CEO. And so I certainly look forward if there should be that handing over ceremony. I have no issue to participate.
But you should be allowed that. You're the greatest commissioner in history, longest serving.
I am grateful for your comments, Jules. I can't sing my own praises in terms of whether I'm the best or whatever. I have worked with some very good commissioners, Mr. Zuniga, Mr. Zetina, Mr. Westbay, Hewington Williams. Yeah, I've worked with some very good commissioners, Even Mr. Wiley, as much as we didn't see eye to eye on many issues, I do believe that he set a platform for me. Some of the policies that he had in place, I just continued those. I watched him. I was his deputy in Eastern Division when he was commander Eastern Division, and I learned a lot from him too. So even though we have diverse views on certain issues, I do believe that he did a hell of a job, and he did his part as well. He had his strength and his weaknesses, and we must judge him in its totality and not just based on his weaknesses.
The Caribbean Development Bank is reviewing its projects in Belize, focusing on important development and financial strategies. Key infrastructure projects like the Coastal Highway Project, Philip Golson Highway and the 8th Road project are being examined, with presentations from the Ministry of Infrastructure and Development. Evandale Moody, the chief engineer at the MIDH, is participating in the review.
This country portfolio review is held almost every year. However, during project implementation, we would usually have regular visits from the Caribbean Development Bank because they have a team that usually checks up on the progress of the works as it progresses. So that is done maybe 2 to 3 times per year, but the portfolio review is done on an annual basis. They're one of our key lending agencies, and they have been around with us for quite some while. So most of the infrastructure projects that have been implemented in Belize has been implemented through funds received from the Caribbean Development Bank. Honestly, we're very pleased and proud as a country to know that they have recognized us as, I believe, the best in the Caribbean, to be honest, in terms of project implementation, using funds and resources from the Caribbean Development Bank. As you may be aware, the 2 projects that we discussed with them yesterday was the 6th Road Coastal Highway Upgrading Project, and also the 7th Road, the Philip Golson Highway Upgrading Project. And both those projects have been successfully completed by the Ministry of Infrastructure Development and Housing. And so based on the visits that they have made over the last 3 years, we have been successful in the completion of these projects. And so we're very pleased to have received those remarks from the bank as well.
Running a business for 138 years is no small feat, but that's exactly what James Brodie and Company Limited has achieved. In just 12 years, they'll be celebrating 150 years of business in Belize. They've outlasted their competitors from the late 18th and early 19th centuries, like Hophius, Hildebrandt, and Harley. In today's installment of Belize Unreal, News 5's Paul Lopez dives into the rich history of this long-standing company and its impact on Belize's economy, from when young Scotsman James Brodie first arrived in 1872 to 138 years later.
The hurricane came in 1961 and the company starts losing business, and Brodie's advertised for an office manager. I applied and I got the job, and I was hired in 1964. Since then I have grown in the company. I became the secretary after a while, secretary of the board. Then I became a shareholder in 1982, along with Barry Boyne and Ian Trumbuck. They had a company called Boyne and Boyne Company Limited, something like that. Then in 1989, before that, a few years before that, I bought the shares of Ian Trumbuck. Then I became a 40% shareholder. Barry Boyne became a 60% shareholder. Then in 1988, Barry decided he didn't want to continue with the business. He had his own business to concentrate on. And in 1989, I bought the 60% from Barry and put it in the name of a company, my company, Suma Limited, who owns 100% of the shares. So my family owns the controlling shares in Brodie's.
That's a wrap for the news at noon. But don't worry, there's plenty more coming your way at 6 p.m. We'll dive deeper into these stories and more. In the meantime, visit channel5belize.com and follow us on Facebook for real-time updates. And don't miss Open Your Eyes tomorrow morning for fresh takes on today's headlines. Thanks for tuning in, Belize. Stay informed, stay inspired, and have a fantastic afternoon.
Veracidad, imparcialidad.
Hemos estado haciendo el trabajo como organización
y tus noticias en español.
Están en aguas beliceñas, entonces esta bandera se queda aquí.
Sintoniza Canal 5 cada viernes a las 7 de la noche.
Tenemos que resolver dos grandes problemas de este país.
Su voz importa, su acción cuenta.
Transfusión sanguínea, elementos que indican un deterioro evidente del estado de salud.
Somos Noticiero 5 Semanal.
Perdió la vida en un heroico intento de proteger a su hermano. El Tribunal de Magistrados de la ciudad de Belize se paralizó. La policía está investigando 2 asesinatos separados.
Tu fuente de información.